In 1996, Capcom created one of the most terrifying games to ever grace our television screens. I mean, just listen to that voice acting.
Find anything, Jill?
Nothing. What is this all about? I can't figure it out at all.
Beats me, too.
Now it's Wesker's time to disappear.
Seriously though, the original Resident Evil was a great game that had a ton of atmosphere and a sense of dread that few games back then had. It was just marred a bit by the voice acting, script, and dated visuals. Jump ahead 6 years to 2002, the Nintendo Gamecube, one of my personal favorite consoles of all time, had just launched. Improved visuals, kick-ass sound, a lunchbox design, and discs so small they look like toys. When you think about it, it's no surprise why the Gamecube got slapped with the label of kiddie toy back in the day. I still remember the first time I ever played Resident Evil at the ripe age of 10. I had already grown up with the PlayStation era of Resident Evil games, and when I stumbled upon this box art at Blockbuster, it was an instant rental for me. That same night, I took it over to my friend's place, we popped it in, and before we knew it, the sun was coming up. And by that time, we had already had to pause the game at least 50 times to try and gather ourselves so we didn't shit our pants, and we had to turn off all the game's music because the save room theme song scared us so much that we just couldn't handle it. So, Resident Evil starts off the same way the original game did. You choose between two members of STAR's Alpha Team, either Jill Valentine or Chris Redfield, before being dropped into the Arclay Mountains to search for Bravo Team, which was sent in the mountains first. Upon arrival, the team is attacked by a group of Cerberus in a cutscene that actually really disturbed me as a kid. There's something about Joseph's screams and his meat being mulched into Doberman poop that makes my skin crawl. Anyway, the team ends up finding a mansion in the middle of the forest, and thus all hell breaks loose. The first thing you notice about Resident Evil is the visuals. The GameCube was a pretty powerful system for the time, and due to Capcom deciding to go with pre-rendered backgrounds for this remake, even to this day this game looks incredible. The attention to detail is incredible. The flickering candles, the lightning outside the windows, fog rolling by. I swear to God, this game has an atmosphere so thick you can practically taste it. And it tastes pretty freaking gross. This game is truly and utterly terrifying. Everything about it is terrifying. Atmosphere and sound play a huge role in that, but there's one major change, one that Capcom decided to toss in here just to fuck with people that grew up playing these games. The whole time I was playing, I kept thinking to myself, that's weird. How come none of the bodies are disappearing? They always disappear after you leave the room in older games, but then all of a sudden... Yeah, it's gonna be a big no for me, dog. The Crimson Heads, man. Oh, not since Nemesis and his ability to bust down doors in Resident Evil 3 have I ever experienced such pure fear and anxiety in these games. Nothing made me not want to continue playing more than knowing there's a psyched up death freak waiting on the other side of a door for me. Every zombie you killed in this game could potentially become one of these assholes. There were only two ways to prevent this. Either carry around a canteen of fuel to burn their corpses, thus taking up one of your very limited inventory spaces, or just pray to whoever it is you pray to that you can blow their head off. Seriously. Fuck these guys. Gameplay, for the most part, hasn't changed much since the original game, but there are some additions that make your nightmarish experience in this hellhouse just a tad more survivable. The big one being self-defense weapons in the form of daggers and tasers. I mean, I'm not sure how a taser is supposed to work on a zombie, but when that thing manages to save me from a zombie trying to bad touch me when my health is at danger, I'm not going to complain. The story is relatively unchanged as well. All the key points that play out in the original game play out here, just with much more improved voice acting in a script that doesn't feel like it was written by a 10-year-old kid who couldn't speak English. But the biggest addition to the story is without a doubt Lisa Trevor, daughter of George Trevor, the man who created and built the very mansion that you're trying to survive. Lisa's backstory is one of the most disturbing and depressing stories that I've ever experienced in a game. If you haven't played this game, then I don't really want to show off any of Lisa, just because experiencing her for the first time is one of this game's more memorable experiences. But those of you who have experienced that, then you know what's up. This game is the perfect example of how a remake should play out. You take everything that the original experience was and just improve upon it 1,000 times over, but change just enough that old players get thrown for a loop. Capcom managed to turn a game that was essentially a campy B-movie in gaming form into one of the scariest, most tense, and most atmospheric horror experiences anyone can ever play. Resident Evil 3 will always be my favorite purely due to nostalgia, but if you want to play a single game in the franchise that perfectly encapsulates everything that makes Resident Evil, well, Resident Evil, look no further than the Resident Evil remake. I have so many fond memories of Rebecca and Billy's romp through the zombie-filled Ecliptic Express, or running out of space and forgetting where I dropped a key item somewhere in the Umbrella training facility, and searching hours to find a fucking key and having to restart my save file in the end. Ah, this is good times. Resident Evil 0 was actually conceptualized way back in 1995, right after Nintendo had announced the Nintendo 64. At this time, the original Resident Evil wasn't even out yet, as it was still being developed. In 1999, the ill-fated Nintendo 64 Double D, which was a disk drive add-on attachment for the system, was released in Japan only. The discs held a whole whopping 64 megabytes of data on them, in comparison to the Nintendo 64's 32 megabyte cartridges. So naturally, Resident Evil 0 was going to be developed for the 64 Double D and not the carts. However, because the 64 Double D was such a massive bomb, Capcom Production Studio 3 decided to hell with that and moved over to developing the game for the cartridges. They figured that with the character swapping mechanics and item dropping, that even a 32 megabyte cartridge would be enough to handle it. Keep in mind, this was before Resident Evil 2's Nintendo 64 port with its 64 megabyte cartridge came along and showed everyone that not only could it be done, but that it could be done damn well too. The game wasn't officially announced until 1999 when Yoshiki Okamoto told magazine Deneki N64 that it was in development. But at the Tokyo Game Show in 2000, the world was finally shown Resident Evil 0. Visually, it looks on par with the PlayStation releases of Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 3. We do see Billy Cohen, but at the time they hadn't quite announced who he was. Rebecca's outfit is pretty much the same one that she was wearing when you encounter her in the original Resident Evil, the only major difference being her white beret rather than the red headband that made her look less like a soldier and more like a fitness model from the early 90s. You know, the kind that have their own VHS tapes and shit. At this point, it was believed that the game would drop by the end of 2000, as it was hinted that the game was at about 20% completed at this point. However, by the middle of 2000, the development team realized it was not going to be possible to fit this entire game onto a single cartridge. Thankfully, around the same time, Nintendo announced the Dolphin console, which would later be known as the Gamecube, and Resident Evil 0 was saved from an otherwise horrible fate. One cool thing I'd like to mention here is a bonus found on the Biohazard 0 Trial Edition disc that was released in Japan just before the game officially came out. They included a very different version of the game's cutscene where Rebecca encounters her first zombie. Her face, voice, and look are way different from the finished game, rather looking like they did back in her Nintendo 64 days. Hell, I'm not even sure it's the same voice actress.
This is Officer Chambers from STARS Bravo team. Please identify yourself. Is someone there?
Aside from this, the only real differences between RE0's early GameCube days is some unused backgrounds and a couple of unused items like a grenade, but most of what was worked on we ended up getting in the end. The concept for RE0 is a great one. Throughout the years ever since the original game, we've heard the stories of STARS Bravo team and their ill fate of being the first of the STARS teams to be sent into the Araclay Mountains. But this game finally sheds light on the events that took place before any other games in the series and what the actual cause of the T-Virus leak was. Even if it was just a cross-dressing opera singer, but we'll get to that later. So, after crash landing in the woods, you take on the role of Rebecca Chambers on her first mission. Ever. Seriously, what is it with Resident Evil characters having such shit luck all the time? Rebecca's first mission throws her into a zombie-infested train. Leon's first day as a cop throws him into an entire ruined Raccoon City. Essentially, if it's your first day on the job, any job, don't be a Resident Evil character, because you're pretty much screwed. Also at your disposal is Billy Cohen, an ex-soldier who's being transported for prosecution, but ended up escaping and finding his way into the train as well. Billy is actually an interesting character with a fairly dark backstory, so I never really understood why he hasn't been in any of the games since. Anyway, yes, unlike Resident Evil and Resident Evil 2, which had two characters with different stories, Resident Evil 0 features two playable characters at the same time, and this is one of its biggest problems. They dub it the partner zapping feature, which basically means that at the touch of a button you can swap back and forth between Billy and Rebecca, giving you access to two separate inventories and allowing for puzzles that require the use of both characters. The concept is fine. However, when you aren't playing the other character, they become AI controlled. Any weapon they have equipped, they will use, so you better remember never to leave them equipped with like a magnum or a grenade launcher or something, because they will have no problem wasting that really rare magnum round on a feeble zombie. On top of that, say you walk into a room with low health and some bullshit like the pain in the ass leechman lunges at you, so you run as fast as you can to get to the nearest exit. Well, your AI character isn't going to follow you. He or she is going to stop and shoot whatever is in the room. And if you leave the room without your other character following you, they stay in the last room. So if both your characters are dangerously low on health, you basically have to separate them and run through the room one at a time. I mean, you can switch their AI type to idle so they never fire their weapons, but then you have no backup. And if one character dies, it's game over, man. Game over. This also segues into the game's inventory system. Instead of giving you access to an item box, RE0 gets rid of them entirely in favor of allowing you to drop an item wherever you want. This can come in handy when you're carrying a piece to a puzzle but can't quite use it yet, so you can drop it in front of where it's used and deal with it later. However, some items, like the godforsaken fuckhead of a hookshot, which takes up 2 inventory spaces, has to be used at different parts of the game. So imagine spending like 20 minutes running to the location you're supposed to go to, only to discover that you still need the goddamn hookshot again, and you left it way back at the beginning, so now you gotta backtrack all the way to where you dropped it, clear up 2 inventory spaces, and then run all the way back again. No one can deny that that shit is infuriating as hell. Visually, this game is just as stunning as the Resident Evil remake was. Say what you will about the primitive nature of a pre-rendered background, but that shit sure does hold up well. Every single room in Resident Evil 0 is loaded with detail, including some backgrounds with like subtle animations like the dead guy's arms swaying back and forth in the first train car. I always love that. Same goes for the audio. It's pretty much flawless. Not to mention RE0 contains probably some of the best music in the entire series. Now let's talk about the main villain of the game, that cross-dressing, opera-singing leech whisperer. So basically, one of the founders of the Umbrella Corporation, Dr. James Marcus, was murdered by Umbrella and tossed in the sewer, but not before being taunted by Wesker, once again solidifying the fact that he's an asshole. Anyway, one of Marcus's experiments, the Queen Leech, crawled inside the body of Marcus, thus merging with and reviving him into probably one of the least intimidating villains in a Resident Evil game, probably since Salazar in Resident Evil 4. Sorry, but it's really hard to take him seriously when all he does is sing. I might also be in the minority on this, but I kind of feel like the enemy selection in this game is really lazy compared to other Resident Evil games. Because with the exception of the zombies and the Tyrant, maybe the Queen Leech, every single enemy and every single boss in this entire game is just an animal that's mutated. I mean, you got the giant scorpion, the giant centipede, you got zombified baboons, you got zombie dogs, you got a giant bat. It's all animals, frogs. It just seems really lazy to me. I much prefer when the enemies are like weird, fucked up mutations that don't look like anything you've ever seen before, as opposed to just bigger versions of stuff that exists in real life. And yeah, I understand that the other Resident Evil games had stuff like that, like the Neptunes and you know, but still, at least in those games there was variety. There was the giant sharks, but then there was also, I don't know, weird Crimson Head shit. I don't know. There was weird mutations in those games. Resident Evil 0 is nothing but animals. I think I'm fairly in between when it comes to my stance on Resident Evil 0. As much as I love the visuals and the story and the fact that it's just a solid horror game, the whole partner swapping and inventory crap is pretty much the main reason why this is one of the games I've played the least amount of times in the series. It's just an annoying set of features that hold back an otherwise solid entry in the Resident Evil franchise.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Oh man! I bet you're thinking to yourself, wow, a Resident Evil 4 video? There's literally no one on the planet that's thought of this yet, ignoring the fact that Resident Evil 4 has been ported to literally every single console under the frickin' sun. I wouldn't be shocked if it was on a calculator at this point. Well, what can I say? I'm nothing if not a pioneer. So I guess before we get into the game itself, I should probably give a very brief history on Resident Evil 4's development because it's an interesting and long one. But I'll keep things short because there are a million different videos covering the early versions of Resident Evil 4. Originally, the game was in development for the PS2 with the idea of making it a cool and stylish action-focused game that literally had nothing at all to do with Resident Evil, aside from maybe the story dealing with like biotechnology. Eventually, this version had its name changed and became what we now know today as Devil May Cry. Later, the next version of Resident Evil 4, dubbed the Fog version, would have taken players back to the world of horror, given Leon superpowers in his left hand for some reason, basically turning him into Scorpion, with the zombies being the main enemies again. The Fog version was 40% completed before it was once again scrapped, resulting in a third version that was been dubbed the Hookman version. This version scrapped the zombies, god damn it, and once again took the series in a very drastically different direction with like creepy baby doll ghosts and shit, plus a dude with a hook hand that stalked you throughout the game, and also it was blue. Very blue. Finally, it was decided to completely reinvent the Resident Evil series, and thus we now come to Resident Evil 4. RE4 drops players into the shoes of series veteran Leon Kennedy, now sporting a slick leather jacket and some sweet hair, as he heads into Europe to search for the president's missing daughter. And as soon as the game gives you control, you quickly realize, nah, this isn't the same Resident Evil you grew up with. Gone are the fixed camera angles and tank controls in favor of an over-the-shoulder view that I think is safe to say pretty much revolutionized gaming. I mean, almost every game of this type since RE4 has used this camera angle. It works beautifully. The only thing it was lacking was the fact that your dumbass is stuck in place when you aim. Because we all know a professional agent would totally just stand there like a stick in the mud as a deranged psycho bitch runs at you with a shovel. People like to say that Resident Evil 5 was the game that took the series into the action genre and abandoned horror, but really it started with Resident Evil 4. This game is not scary. At all. I mean, there are very brief moments of horror elements, especially when you get to the freaky ass reanimators, but for the most part, the fear you experience in this game doesn't come from horror, it comes from a frantic sense of panic. The enemies in Resident Evil 4 are not slow. They don't slowly shamble towards you. These assholes run, dodge, throw shit from rooftops, shoot you, break down doors, and just in general make your life incredibly difficult. Hell, some of them could do all that shit and they're invisible. That's just bullshit. And again, all while you can't move and shoot. Plus, it's a special level of ass puckerage when you hear this shit mere inches behind your head. The boss battles are some of the best in the series though, easily. Every one of them is uniquely designed, but my personal favorite is the Del Lago fight on the lake. It's like Jaws on crack. Plus, it's the only boss you can't just one-shot with an RPG, so that's cool. The knife fight with Krauser, however, can lick my left nut. RE4 came out at a time when QuickTime events were a new concept, and I don't usually have an issue with them, but this fight, the cutscene with him lasts about 3 minutes, and I swear to God, there's like 11 button prompts in those 3 minutes, and if you fail even one of them, it's an instant game over. What kind of sick son of a bitch does that to someone? But eventually, after over an hour of gaming bliss, you discover the most brutal and difficult enemy in the entire game. One that will make the rest of your time with Resident Evil 4 a living hell. Ashley fucking Graham. Oh my god, dude, no. She's just the worst, guys. The moment you find her, the rest of the game becomes one long escort mission. Enemies will constantly grab her and try to wander off with her, resulting in a game over if they manage to leave the room. What does she do to counteract this bullshit? Well, she huddles on the floor like a sack of dump and squeals. And God forbid you accidentally shoot her instead of the dude carrying her away, because even a bolt in the toe kills her. She's more difficult to deal with than any enemy this game throws at you. I hate her. I hate her a lot. When the story forces her to be kidnapped, it's like a sense of euphoria that I can't even describe. Another thing that Resident Evil 4 does incredibly well is replayability. The amount of unlockable weapons and costumes is almost daunting, and there's crap to collect all over the place. The game actually rewards exploration, even though this game is fairly linear. Getting the suit of armor for Ashley is the absolute best way to experience Resident Evil 4, because as long as she has it on, enemies can't carry her away, and your bullets just bounce off her. Oh god, it's so nice. Not to mention all the hidden things that were just littered throughout the game, like how if you stand on the edge of the dock and shoot the fish, Del Lago just leaps out of the water and eats your ass, or the fact that you could look up Ashley's skirt and she'd actually react. That was something kind of groundbreaking about that. Just so many reasons to just go off the beaten path, even if it did instantly get you killed for most of the time. There's a reason Resident Evil 4 is considered one of the greatest games of all time. It redefined not only the Resident Evil series, for better or for worse, depending on who you ask, but it also redefined gaming in general for years to come. It's the only video game I've ever bought 5 different times, on the Gamecube, the PS2, the PS3, the Wii, and the PS4. I'm just a filthy consumer whore.